Welcome back. We are on day 6 of our bugs, and it's background day, and it's going to be amazing. So first and foremost, you're going to want to make sure that you have drawn your background onto your bug image on the paper. Okay? And as of last class, remember too, you could have made several different bugs or like photocopied them, right, by like tracing them onto a new sheet of paper, or actually photocopying if you have access to that, and then trying out different patterns as well. Hopefully you also left a little bit of space between your pattern and your bug, just to leave literal wiggle room in case if, when you realign today that it's not quite perfect, you've got that space to spare so that you're not putting your background onto your bug. So that's where we're at. Also, I want to give you a heads up. Tomorrow we are going to need that kitchen tin foil or aluminum foil or whatever you got. Because tomorrow we are going to start practicing with our Sharpies. So also dig through your art kits and look for your permanent markers as well, those colorful ones. It's going to be so fun. So just wanted to give you that heads up that we will need those things for tomorrow, because we're going to be doing something kind of like this as a practice next class. But more about this class. All right, here we go. What do we need for today? We need this little wooden tool, this guy. We're going to need our bug image, right? Our nice foil that has our bug on it already. Pencil, cardboard, so that when we're doing our embossing onto the good metal with our bug, it has that little bit of a squish underneath that helps the embossing to happen versus having a hard surface underneath and it can't really press down through the foil or into the foil. Tape and our bug image with the background. So that's what we're all going to need today. And that's what I have here. So, we started off with our bug. It looked cool, but then we decided we wanted to make it even cooler. So we drew a background. Now, if you are not quite done with the background, we gotta do that first. So just make sure that you get that background finished before you actually would start. So, I would want to get like in this area here and here and here. I'm not going to make you watch me do that because we're moving on to other things. But I'm just letting you know, if you don't quite have it done yet, finish that before you pass go, before you move on to these next steps. Okay? So whenever you're ready, remember our goal is something that looks like this by the end of class today, or before class starts tomorrow, I should say. You always have your work time outside of class as well. But you can see we've embossed the full background onto this one. And then, of course, tomorrow, next class, we're going to be practicing with permanent markers so that eventually we can do something like this, where we've got all these. It's hard to see, but I know our camera on Zoom isn't always the best. But we'll have different techniques that we learn about next class to really add some cool detail when the time comes. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get back to what we're doing now. So I've got my picture. One thing that you'll want to, or potentially want to do, I should say, is to, when you tape this, instead of taping it to the front side, so this is where it was last time, and you can see that this is dented in, and if I flip it over here, I don't know if you can really tell, but this comes out. This is where the ridges come out at me. So if you do feel confident that your bug is quite symmetrical, you did all the steps leading up to this point where you folded it in half, traced it that way, so it should be symmetrical on both sides. A good idea is to actually, instead of having it be the same way it was before, to flip it onto the back side, and you just want to, as best as you can, line it up. This is why we left that little bit of space. Well, it doesn't show it here, but basically when I do this, you'll see me what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do the things that are further away, like that should be safe. You know, there's a little bit of, let's see, let's see if I can see that better. There's a little bit of space there, but things like this are not very safe. So I'm actually not going to do that with my paper on here. I'm going to come back and do those kind of manually once I take the paper off. Anyway, I'm going to want to tape it down once I think I've got it into place. I would tape it at least 2 or 3 spots because you can see this, that's going to shift on me. I'm just going to kind of once again try to align all of this. I can tell I need to go up a little higher here. So I'm right now I'm just trying to get it aligned as best as I can. Let's double check down here. Yep, that looks better. Taping that so it matches. We've done this before, but here we go again. I'm going to take my dull pencil first. Okay, dull pencil first, just to make sure that we're not like ripping through the paper, or sometimes too if we go too deep into the metal too fast, it causes us to slip a little bit easier. And I will remind you, our 2 key words here are slow and steady, right? That makes us much less likely to make any errors. And the thing is with the metal, as you realize, there is no eraser. We can't like undo. So we want to just be as careful as we possibly can. All right, so here we go. You can see my design here, and slow and steady. By using it on the background, basically what I'm doing is on one side, the image is going back into space, and on the other side, it's coming forward, right? So it just adds a little more dimension. So I know I mentioned like if yours is symmetrical, feel free to do it this way. If you're looking at yours and you're like, not exactly symmetrical, I would stick to just doing the background on the front side, just like you did with the bug, just so you don't run into any issue with your background kind of going over the top of your image. All right, so you can see I'm just going around, adding all this in. I'm going slow. I'm sort of paying attention. You should pay more attention than me, but you know, I'm also trying to talk through this too. So if I were you, I wouldn't be talking to anyone. I can probably do some of these dots too that are further away. I probably don't want to do any of these that are getting really close though. Anyway, I would do that all the way around. And of course I would be checking too. You can start to see them softly there. But I'd be checking like, did I get them all? Double check, triple check even, before you do this next step. The next step, we're going to free our image from the foil, and of course remove any tape or anything like that that we don't want on there. Careful too as you're doing that. We don't want to, you know, we don't want to wreck anything. It's looking so cute. Anyway, once you've got your paper taken off, we're going to grab out our wooden tool now. Okay, now I'm on this side. Yep, had to like think that through. And we're going to go over, you can see how soft those lines are right now. So I want to come back with my wooden tool, not so harsh and sharp that I rip my metal, but adding enough pressure. Let me show you the difference here. Okay, so you can probably see the difference between like this one and the one next to it. I know it's not the best camera here, but it just shows up a little bit more than that one. If we check it on this side, it's this one, well these two I've done, and this one I haven't, and you can just see how much better that shows up. So that would be our final step for this class, is just defining any of those lines a little bit more. And then of course too, this is also where I would come in and I would add any of those details that are closer. So all those little dots. Let's see. Oh goodness, it's too bright. So all those little dots, I would be adding those in now that I can make sure that I'm not going over my bug image itself. All right, so that's what we are looking for. Tomorrow we'll talk more about Sharpies and coloring it in eventually, but we'll do some practice next class as well. All right, this is going to be great. We'll see you then.